What I know now about leadership that I wish I knew 20 years ago is that it's not about being liked, it's really about earning the respect of the team, and that you've actually got to have people working for you, ideally, who are much better than you are, because that makes your job one hell of a lot easier.
Thinking back over 20 years of being in a leadership position, I suppose the thing that I really understand better now than I did then is just how important relationships are. You know, relationships are the base of all that we really do. I think the other thing I've learned is that it's really important to be honest and to give feedback, good feedback, and more critical feedback, but in a very timely way. And I wish I'd done more of that 20 years ago.
Well, I think very much inspired by the Windsor Leadership Trust and my experience on the programme, the enormous value of mixing with leaders from different backgrounds. It seems such an obvious thing, but I wish I'd known that a long time ago, because the value is just enormous from their expertise and background and seeing things from a different perspective.
I wish I knew how hard it was. It's a challenge, but I love it. I had my own business about 20 years ago, and because it was my business, I grew with the leadership that the business came with, and that all seemed quite natural. But then taking on a new organisation was the biggest challenge, but I love it.
What I wish I knew about leadership 20 years ago was it's about me, nobody else. Don't blame anybody else. Don't say it's your boss's fault or your subordinate's fault or somebody else's fault. It's your responsibility. Make it happen.
What I know now about leadership that I wish I knew 20 years ago, well, I think leadership is one of those things that it's not easy to know before you start into it. So it's a bit like there's a Steve Jobs quote about you can't join the dots forward, you can only join them going back. So actually, I don't think we ever set out necessarily to do leadership roles. We tend to find ourselves in them. And I think leadership is something you learn with experience and through the roles that you do. So I think where I am now, I know it's about role modelling and I know it's about followership. I'm not sure I would have known that 20 years ago, because that's in the experience.
So I think over the last 20 years I have developed an appreciation that leadership isn't just coming in with great ideas and motivation. It's the ability to share ideas with others, to respect the opinions of those above and below, the ability to trust a team and to encapsulate a clear vision in which one asks for their feedback.
I think it's probably the skills of listening and reflection. I was very much a doer in those days. I was able to diagnose a problem, see the solution and implement it. But I realised it would be far better if I'd listened more and reflected more.
What I know now is that I would ask myself the question, what are you waiting for? And I have 3 children now in their 20s, and I keep on saying to them, what exactly are you waiting for? Who are you waiting for to step forward and occupy the space that you want? When I spent far too much of my young life waiting for something to happen. And now I've realised that actually the only person whose hands that sits in is your own.
I wish 20 years ago I had known that it was quite important to give some time to thinking about a short, medium and long-term personal plan. Even if you don't achieve it, having an idea of where you might want to go, I think would have been really useful and interesting for me.
Well, what I know about leadership now is belief and a really clear sense of purpose is absolutely critical. So too is the ability to inspire others behind that belief if you're really, really going to make a difference.